In the spring of 2018, the world woke up to a nightmare it didn't know it was having. 87 million Facebook users, nearly a quarter of America's population, discovered that their innermost selves had been stolen, dissected, and weaponized. Not by hackers breaking down digital doors, but by a company that walked right through the front gate with Facebook's permission. This is the story of how that happened. Christopher Wylie was not your typical whistleblower. Born in 1989 in Victoria, British Columbia, he was a boy who learned early how systems could fail people. Diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD, he was abused at school at age 6, an experience that led him to sue the British Columbia Ministry of Education. At 14, he won a settlement of $290,000 and forced the agency to overhaul its bullying policies. The system could be fought. The system could be changed. By 17, he was advising the Canadian Parliament on data and technology, the youngest full-time advisor to any party leader in Canadian history. By 19, he had taught himself to code. By 24, he would build something he would spend the rest of his life trying to tear down. In 2013, Wylie was working for SCL Group, a British military contractor that specialized in using data for counter-extremism and counter-propaganda projects across Eastern Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Their work was defensive, identifying people vulnerable to extremist messaging and finding ways to engage them before they could be radicalized. Then Steve Bannon found them. Steve Bannon, the brash, unkempt strategist who would later become White House chief strategist for Donald Trump, saw something in SCL's work that its creators hadn't intended. He convinced billionaire Republican donor Robert Mercer to acquire the company and rename it Cambridge Analytica. What had been built to defend democracy was about to be inverted, turned from a shield into a sword. Wylie watched as the mission changed. The things that I was building on originally for the defense of our democracies had been completely inverted to really, in my view, attack our democracies, he later said. Bannon wasn't just interested in winning elections. He followed what he called the Breitbart Doctrine, the belief that politics flows downstream from culture. Change the culture, and politics will follow. Cambridge Analytica wasn't built to win one campaign. It was built to launch an insurgency. The mechanism was elegant, terrifying, and hiding in plain sight. At Cambridge University's psychology department, researchers had discovered something remarkable. By analyzing a person's Facebook likes, they could predict intimate personality traits with startling accuracy: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. The so-called ocean model. A researcher named Alexander Kogan saw commercial potential. He created an app called This Is Your Digital Life, a personality quiz that paid users $1 or $2 to answer questions about themselves. It looked harmless. It looked fun. But here was the trap: when users logged in with Facebook to take the quiz, they granted Kogan access not just to their own profiles, but to the profiles of all their friends. At the time, Facebook's platform allowed this by default. It wasn't a hack. It was a feature. 270,000 people took the quiz. But because of the friend network effect, the app harvested data on 87 million users, 70.6 million of them in the United States. Birth dates, locations, likes, posts, the digital fingerprints of millions who had never heard of Kogan, never taken his quiz, never consented to anything. Kogan had a license from Facebook to collect data for academic research. But then he did something that would change history. He sold that data to Cambridge Analytica for commercial use. Cambridge Analytica now possessed a map of the American psyche. They didn't just know who you were. They knew what made you afraid. What made you angry. What conspiracies you might believe. Which buttons, if pushed, would make you act. They targeted people who were more prone to conspiratorial thinking, Wylie explained. They used that data, and they used social media more broadly, to first identify those people, and then engage those people, and really begin to craft what, in my view, was an insurgency in the United States. In a London boardroom, Bannon and Cambridge Analytica CEO Alexander Nix sat watching a live demonstration. The system showed them satellite images of people's homes, family photos, personal information. It was surreal to think that these people were sitting in their kitchen in Iowa or Oklahoma or Indiana, talking to a bunch of guys in London who were looking at satellite pictures of where they lived, Wylie wrote. Bannon was reportedly unfazed. He wanted the system ready by September 2014. Cambridge Analytica first tested its methods in the 2014 U.S. midterm elections, working for Republican candidates affiliated with the Tea Party movement. In 2015, they sold their services to Ted Cruz's presidential campaign for nearly $6 million. The Guardian exposed this in December 2015, but the story didn't explode. Not yet. When Donald Trump became the presumptive Republican nominee, Cambridge Analytica pivoted. The campaign paid them $100,000 in July 2016, and the company claimed credit for handling all the research, all the data, all the analytics, all the targeting, for Trump's digital operation. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the same techniques were allegedly deployed in the Brexit referendum. Voters were micro-targeted with inflammatory propaganda designed to sway the persuadables, those few thousand people in key constituencies whose votes could tip the balance. In the end, it wasn't the data harvesting or the psychological manipulation that undid Cambridge Analytica. It was arrogance. In early 2018, undercover reporters from Britain's Channel 4 News filmed CEO Alexander Nix in a series of meetings. With cameras hidden, Nix boasted about his company's methods. They could entrap political opponents with bribery, he suggested. Or send some girls around to the candidate's house. I think it's very effective, he said when asked about these tactics. The footage was damning. But it was about to be overshadowed by something even bigger. Christopher Wylie had left Cambridge Analytica in 2014, disturbed by what he had helped create. He watched from afar as the company's work unfolded in the 2016 election and the Brexit referendum. He saw the rage in people's eyes, the manipulated voters, the conspiracists, the angry crowds. In March 2018, he decided to talk. Working with The Guardian and The New York Times, Wylie provided internal documents, emails, and detailed testimony. On March 17, 2018, the story broke simultaneously across multiple publications. The world erupted. Facebook stock collapsed, $36.4 billion in a single day, nearly $80 billion within a week. The hashtag #DeleteFacebook movement went viral. Elon Musk deleted the Facebook pages of Tesla and SpaceX. Mark Zuckerberg stayed silent for 5 days, a silence widely condemned as tone-deaf. When he finally spoke, it was to apologize. He took out full-page ads in major newspapers. We have a responsibility to protect your information. If we can't, we don't deserve to serve you. In April 2018, he testified before the U.S. Congress for 10 hours over 2 days. Elderly senators asked questions that became instant memes. But the damage was done. Cambridge Analytica declared bankruptcy in May 2018 and shut down. Alexander Nix was fired. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission imposed a $5 billion fine on Facebook, the largest privacy penalty in history. The UK's Information Commissioner fined Facebook the maximum allowed, £500,000. Christopher Wylie became one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people of 2018. He testified before Congress 5 times, wrote a best-selling book called Mind Asterisk, and became a global advocate for privacy reform. Did Cambridge Analytica's psychographic targeting actually work? The debate rages on. Skeptics argue that the company's methods were overhyped, that Facebook's own advertising tools are far more sophisticated. Some researchers suggest the persuadables effect was minimal. The Information Commissioner's investigation found no evidence that Cambridge Analytica were involved in any data analytics work with the EU referendum campaigns. But others warn that the question misses the point. Even small effects can swing close elections, and the deeper threat isn't what Cambridge Analytica did, it's what they proved was possible. As Wylie told NPR, we have a completely unregulated digital landscape. There is almost no oversight. We are placing blind trust in companies like Facebook to do the honorable and decent thing. Even if Cambridge Analytica doesn't exist anymore, what happens when China becomes the next Cambridge Analytica? Cambridge Analytica is gone. Its servers are dark. Its executives have scattered. But the machinery they built, the data harvesting, the psychological profiling, the micro-targeted manipulation, still exists. It's been copied, refined, and deployed by political operatives around the world. The 87 million Facebook users whose data was stolen never got their privacy back. They never even knew it was taken until the story broke. And somewhere in London, Christopher Wylie lives with the knowledge that he helped build something he then had to tear down. This was an epic moment, he once reflected about the early days at Cambridge Analytica. I was proud that we had created something so powerful. I felt sure it was something that people would be talking about for decades. He was right. But not in the way he imagined. The story of Cambridge Analytica is not just a story about data. It's a story about power, who has it, who wants it, and what they're willing to do to get it. And it's a warning, in the digital age, the most valuable resource on earth is not oil or gold. It's you. And so, the story of Cambridge Analytica comes to an end, but the questions it raised? Those are far from over. 87 million people. 70 million Americans. Their personalities. Their fears. Their hopes. All harvested without consent. All weaponized in the battle for the world's most powerful democracy. Some say Cambridge Analytica changed nothing. Others say it changed everything. But here's what I believe. This story is not just about the past. It's about the future. The future of your data. The future of your privacy. The future of democracy itself. The question is, are we paying attention? If this video made you think, if it made you angry, or scared, or just curious, then share it. Send it to someone who needs to know what really happened. Because the more people understand this story, the harder it becomes for anyone to repeat it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to come, more stories, more scandals, more lessons from the people who shaped our digital world. Like this video if you believe privacy matters. Comment below, I want to know, did Cambridge Analytica change the way you see Facebook? Do you trust them with your data now? The story isn't over. It's just beginning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. White heavy checkmark quick CTA summary. Action. What to say. Share. Share it with someone who needs to know. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, more stories coming. Like this video if you believe privacy matters. Comment. Did Cambridge Analytica change how you see Facebook?